Hey, Hellion has a question I was thinking too. Is Keith snoring over there?
No,
Nope.
he's just watching. He's just listening and watching.
Sounded like snoring going
No.
on. I was
He's like-
loving that.
No, not yet.
Ain't going to sleep yet. Not before Anime Girl.
No,
Yeah, I got to get Anime Girl, and then it's whatever.
Oh, well, speaking of that, before we get into Anime Girl and end the last live show of the Classic Metal Show, Night Out, or what am I saying, Night Out? But we're doing a top or the best of the Classic Metal Show.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of feedback on the Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
But in the chat room tonight, now listen real close.
Okay.
I'm going to put together the best of the Classic Metal Show this week.
That is not the music.
Yeah, I'm talking about the best of segments, not the music, not the top 20 countdown. What segments should make the best of the Classic Metal Show for 2013? I've got probably half a dozen already, dozen segments. So in the chat room right now, I need to know, if you haven't entered your thoughts on the Facebook, what do you want to hear on the best of the Classic Metal Show for 2013? I noticed over there at the Facebook that a lot of people were mentioning things that happened last year.
Yeah.
Because it's so prevalent in their mind.
Right, Infirmary Kids.
Like the Infirmary Kids, that was one of them that popped up, and Hand Job.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, that was in 2012.
Right.
But I did see a few of them that did pop up this year. Also, what was it? Ian Hunter?
Ian Hunter?
That was last year.
Yeah, that was last year.
That wasn't 2013, so it's amazing how quickly time flies.
Yeah. 13. There you go. I'm with them on me and the Nazi bit.
Yeah, that was a very common thread. Also, what was it? Harry Chapin, the Black Bummer.
Yeah.
That was a big one. The Black Bummer, I think that's going to be the finale.
Wasn't also the abortion in the rain?
No, I think that was actually last year.
Was that 2012?
I think so. I think that was last year.
Yeah. Okay.
It's amazing how quickly time has gone by, because a lot of the ones that were mentioned on the Facebook anyway were last year. They weren't this year.
Yeah. All right, I'm with Gulp Dog too. From 2 weeks ago, barbecuing with Tom Scholes.
And I saw that too. I saw that barbecuing with Tom Scholes was a top one.
That made me laugh. I listened to it like 5 times in the last 2 weeks.
Really?
Yeah, in the last week. Oh my God, that's funny. Dude, fucking, do you have a panic attack when you see a hamburger?
Hail and kill caller, you're on the air.
Let me just say, I think Abortions in the Rain was this year.
Really? Was it early this year, though? Was it in the spring?
I thought it was the same episode that you did the Black Bummer song.
Was it? No, it was before that. It was before that, definitely.
Yeah.
But,
okay, if you're sure about that.
Because Black Bummer was late in the summer, and that Abortion in the Rain was either late last year or very early this year.
If you're sure.
I don't remember. We can look.
I'll find out for sure. I'll find out for sure, but I think that was last year, but I could be wrong, because even I have lost track of this stuff.
You could just look on last year. That would have made last year's.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was fairly recent that I heard it personally.
But
it might have been on a replay show or something.
But you've got to admit, Harry Chapin was a morbid fuck. That guy was just out of control, even 20, 30 years ago.
Yep.
It's like I said, the guy should have wrote short stories. His songs are basically short stories. You know what noir means, right? N-O-I-R, right?
Yeah, what, black?
Yeah, it means, it's just it's like a school of literature that means very black, nobody is the hero, no happy endings.
Yeah, so poor, so black.
Yeah, Wolf Blitzer.
Exactly.
Yeah, Wolf Blitzer, CNN.
And that's my thing. I love noir fiction.
But
yeah, it's right up my alley.
yeah, Harry Chapin was the master of that, though.
He was. And since I'm not actually on Facebook,
Yeah.
I could be, but I don't want to be. Everybody says, you want to be on Facebook.
That's
It's
okay,
great.
Doghouse. I'm not on there either.
Yes, I don't want to be on Facebook. But I would like to register my comments in case, since I have sort of a vested interest in the real Jeff Tate segments. Yeah. To me, my favorite segments from the past year, I really like the debut of Miranda.
Okay.
Even though she doesn't hardly say anything except, what? Who? Just the fact that Chris can barely talk is funny to me.
Well, actually, that has been suggested, Doghouse.
Okay. And the other one, and this could probably be two segments, but the two phone sex ones with Susan.
That has been suggested, actually.
Okay, well, there are two different segments. The one where you were with Don and Bobby Blotzer and all that. And
that one was definitely suggested.
That one is funny because it caught you by surprise.
It did. I agree.
But then the other one where she's like, pinch my nipples and slap my ass and all that stuff, and you, Neeley, are just totally uncomfortable. Look, I told my girlfriend, you must think I'm a complete fucking lunatic for doing this.
And she agreed.
And she said, you might have been uncomfortable, but that guy was really uncomfortable. That's funny to me. But other than that, maybe, I don't know. I like horse stories, but in the grand scheme of things, the whole bit isn't all that funny.
Well, Keith enjoys, I'm fucking a horse. Right, Keith?
Oh, yes.
It's hilarious.
Like I say, the funniest part of that is that guttural, I'm fucking a horse. But the whole segment as itself isn't, to me, I don't think it's all that funny. I mean, it was at the time, but if it was up to me, it would be the debut of Miranda and phone sex with the real Susan, and maybe not that the whole show should be about me or him or us, but maybe Jeff Tate is black.
God damn. That's a good one.
Well, there actually have been people who suggested 2 out of 3 of those.
And again, I've said it before, that is amazing to me that people actually think this shit is funny.
They do. Believe me, they think it's hysterical.
Some hate it, but most love it.
Well, some hate it, but fuck them.
That's how I feel, Doghouse. That's how I feel.
I listen back to some of them and I think, that wasn't as funny as it could have been. But yeah, those the ones that I mentioned are probably the best ones.
Right.
So, and notice I'm mentioning that those are all the ones that he stars in.
Sure.
None of the ones that I star in should be in the the top.
Well,
it's just me. It's just me popping off.
I will tell you, Doghouse, that I see Keith pretty much on a daily basis, and probably at least once a week, if not once every other week, I hear, I'm fucking a horse.
It's on the sheet in the laundry.
Exactly.
Well, I'm glad to bring a little bit of sunshine into your horrible little humdrum lives. So those are my 2 cents, and that's all I have.
Okay, well, that'll be duly noted.
All right. Fuck you, pal.
All right, there he goes.
I see a couple votes for Mower. I don't think Mower's eligible.
I don't think that was all that great.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay, but stand out for the whole year? It's okay.
See, and I kind of have a rule. I don't know if you have the same rule, but I have a rule that if it isn't me and you, it's not eligible.
Okay.
That's my own personal thought. And that's nothing against, Jim or John or anybody else that's done the show with me. Mr. E, any of them. But if it's the best of mine and your show,
Sure.
so it should be me and you.
Right. Well, believe me, I will put together a show, but there's been 20 suggestions on the Facebook, but I thought I'd throw it out there right now since we're talking about it.
Short Bus Radio.
That one is definitely my favorite, and that will make the cut.
Short Bus Radio was fucking
That
wrong.
was hysterical, but it was funny. But and the only reason I'm going to personally choose that is because when I went to Columbus and was hanging out with the V back in June, we listened to that, and she laughed and laughed and laughed at that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
We played it twice over the weekend because she couldn't get enough of that.
Yeah, that was definitely a good one. You know what I'm surprised I don't see in here anywhere? Not one mention of Natalie.
But that is Natalie, though. Short Bus Radio.
Well, okay, but I mean, nothing, not the Hatriot?
That was funny, but I think Short Bus Radio was definitely funny.
You think Short Bus Radio was funnier than the Hatriot?
I think so, only because that was the first time we debuted Natalie.
Yeah.
With Snake, the Snake.
The Snake.
Yeah.
Natalie. Love me some Natalie.
The Hatriot.
The Hatriot.
So great.
Yeah, we had a lot of good ones this year, too.
Sure. Well, I will put together a good show for the end of the year, and, I do know for a fact.
There's another good one, and I know I sent this one to you already. The first episode of the Chris Wicks interviews with Randy.
Oh, yeah, Rockin' Randy is going to make the cut.
That has to get in there.
Rockin' Randy's going to make the cut. Short Bus Radio's going to make the cut. Jeff Tate has sex with the real Susan Tate. That's going to make the cut.
Yeah. Me singing Patience in the bar, that's not going to make the cut.
Yeah, not so much.
No, that was just fucking around.
That was just silly.
That's it.
How about you, Keith? You got a favorite?
I kind of like the V yelling bang when the real Jeff Tate was.
Well, that actually was suggested.
That was a pretty good one.
Jeff Tate with the V. And, of course, Chris's interview with the German.
Yeah, that has to make it.
That was a big one.
Goebbels.
Yeah, that was a big one. So there were some very memorable segments, and I noticed over there at the Facebook, and I know Chris, you answer a lot of these a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. So many of them were last year.
Yeah, they were. And it's bad that they were waiting for me to fucking dictate that because I barely remember last week.
But, there were several suggestions of things that should make the cut for this year. And it's just like, nope, that was last year. That was 2012.
I will admit, though, I listened back to Infirmary Kids. That was pretty fucking funny.
I was waiting for the rebuttal song.
I know, that would have been good.
I thought that might come out, but apparently it didn't.
Nathan from Kentucky, how about suck my dick at your job?
Well, that was just like 2 weeks ago.
No, that was pretty wrong.
That was pretty bad. But, the thing is that it's so fresh in their mind that it just kind of, is there.
Yeah. Well, and dude, it's fun to actually see all these things coming across, What about me talking about the Seven Dust concert where I punched the bitch?
Right?
That was funny. Dude, we had a good year.
It was a great year. I enjoyed it. I know, again, one of the reasons Keith is even here tonight is because he's, become such a fan of the Spreaker, downloads on Monday. Mm-hmm. Is that, I invited him to come down because I know he enjoys the show as much as, we do, doing it.
Yeah, dude, we definitely have fun doing it.
And 2013 was just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't think, usually, and this is, not stroking us because Lord knows I would call it honestly, but usually we have what I would say is 2 to 3 bad shows a year. Where for a number of reasons, either I'm overtired or you're overtired or you're sick or I'm sick or we get fucked up with the audio or, whatever. And we get distracted. And I can't think of one week that we had just a fucking straight out bad show.
Sure.
I really don't think we had one truly bad show this year.
Look at Nathan from Kentucky, the 2013 CMS Motorboating International. Remember that?
That was funny too.
That was funny. And see, to be honest with you, I totally forgot about that until just now.
Yep. How about Chris going off on Obama? God, that could be 6 hours all by itself.
Sure.
And that was only last week too, wasn't it?
No, you've done that like 2 or 3 times this year.
Oh, have I? Well, he is a fucking piece of fucking dog shit.
Hail and Kill Caller, you're on the air.
Hail and Kill. There's got to be some just, the back and forth between you guys. Just, like some of the best shit came out of you guys just shooting the shit about stuff like Chris's, his forays in the single life, and shit like that, basically. His booty calls, all that shit like that some of that was the best radio all year.
This year?
This year. There was some really good relationship talk shit. It just got hilarious. I mean, this year.
Well, let me do a reality check for you, MOL. Do you realize that Where's My Shoes was at Christmas last year?
Yes, but there was a lot more this year, too. I mean, when you guys just got down to shooting the shit, I mean, there were some gems in there. Some absolute gems. There were. It was fucking hilarious. That and was Michael Butler this year or last?
This year.
That was this year.
That was this year, and that was been suggested that should be part of the show, too, the rebuttal.
Yeah. Where he's talking to himself. And
right.
Talking to himself, which is just completely... Whatever happened to him? Does he still do his show?
I think he does, but again, Chris has had a different attitude, so he's not on the attack like he used to be.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't care what he's doing.
Right.
Yeah. Painting with a bloody vag.
Yes.
Was that this year?
That was last year.
Was it?
Yeah.
Are you sure? I think that was February.
I'm not so sure about that.
His bloody vages.
So funny.
Gil Dog says this is going to be a 14-hour show.
Yeah.
Well, it could be a lot longer.
It could basically be 2 shows easily.
Well, you know
what?
Yeah,
you could do it fire.
Let's call it right now. You want to go with an 8 hours, dude?
I will pull out what I think are the best of, and I will see what it all boils down to.
Because next week, I'm making this right now because we need to say this too. Next week's show is an 8-hour show, and it starts at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. So figure out where you are.
Because there's a lot of music in this show.
Yeah, because and basically since Red and Jerry are in on it anyway, we're going to use their time and our time because they're on right before us.
So great, Jerry.
Huh?
Sorry. I was just thinking out loud.
But yeah, we're going to do an 8-hour broadcast next week, and then I think we could probably do it the next week after because I know Red and Jerry aren't going to have a new show.
Sure.
Not the week before New Year's.
No.
So we could go for a long show if we want to.
Hell and Kill, fuck you, pal. I think I'm sitting on the phone too long. All right. Hell and Kill, fuck you, pal, and hand job!
Later.
All right. There's just a lot, and again, this sounds like us blowing our own horn per se, but there were a lot of great segments this year.
There was. It was a good year.
So I will go through, I will do my best to pick the very best shows or segments from this year and put it together.
Well, you got 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know. But I just wanted to get the final comments from anybody who's listening live right now.
Sure. All good.
So it's going to be a 14-hour show.
Might be.
But it really has. It's been a good year. I don't think that there's been a week that's gone by that I haven't listened to all of the segments on a second round.
Sure.
Throughout the week of the following week. So, that Spreaker, man, I'll tell you, that Spreaker is just fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Bret Michaels hanging with friends.
That's true. That's a great one, too. I love
That's
it.
a funny one.
Hail and kill caller. You're on the air.
Okay. Another show that I think was probably one of the highlights, but it kind of made me feel a little bit weird. The Stephanie Squirter episode.
See, I wasn't a big fan of that.
That's 2
Okay,
years ago
well,
anyway.
Let me just psychoanalyze this for a minute. Okay.
Yeah.
Stephanie and, John and the cell phone video and all that stuff. John showing the video. Hey, look at this. Look what this girl does. All that shit, right?
Yeah.
I think, and I hope Stephanie doesn't take this the wrong way.
She will.
But I think she probably has been hooked up with too many guys that don't treat her right. So she figures everybody's like this, so she's going to grin and bear it.
Well,
And just as somebody who doesn't know Stephanie, what? Go ahead.
well, believe it or not, Doghouse, that was the fall of 2012.
Okay, well, fine. But at the same, let me just say this.
All right.
Okay? Just to say to her, you don't have to do those things. Same with Veronica. Yeah, she's like pushing the fact that she's a big-titted Amazon metal singer. You don't have to do those things. You've got enough talent to let it ride, so to speak, without doing that.
Well, you're getting all sentimental and stuff there, Doghouse.
I am. I hear, all the shock jock talk about chicks is cool and it's funny and all. But in real life, that's not the way I want to treat people.
Well,
So, to the Stephanies and the Veronicas out there, you don't have to do those things.
Have you been drinking tonight? Are you all feeling sentimental and stuff?
That could be.
I think so.
I could say just on my behalf with the Stephanie thing, she knows that I'm fucking love her to death. So no matter what I say about her, she knows how I feel.
Yeah, but at the same time, you saw the video of her squirting.
Yeah, but she's shown me videos of herself too, so that's just sort of her.
But that's the point. She doesn't have to do that.
Well, she knows that.
She thinks she has. She thinks that's what people want from
that
her.
ain't how it is. It's really not.
Well, I hope not.
She's a partier. She likes to party.
Well, that's fine, but I get this feeling that she thinks that's what people want from her.
Nah. No, I could tell you she's not real happy about the Squirter episode at all.
Okay, cool.
But we don't. But the rule on the show has and always will be: if it's said, it's game. Nothing gets edited out. Nothing gets changed.
If it bleeds, it leads. If it's old enough to bleed, it's old enough to butcher.
Well, now if we say it, if the mics are open and it's said, it's there.
If there's grass on the field, I'm playing ball.
Yeah, pretty much.
Fuck you, pal.
Jeez.
I think we've only actually gotten rid of one thing ever, haven't we?
Yeah, I think so.
Just the frozen dirt thing.
Pretty much. Only because that was literally going to be a problem.
Yeah, that was going to be a legal scenario that we didn't want to have.
Right. We didn't want to deal with that nonsense.
Yeah, that's it.
So, all right. Well, I got a lot of good ideas here. So 2 weeks from tonight, we're going to have the best of the classic metal show. Next week is going to be the top 20 countdown of 2013, where Chris, myself, Red and Jerry, and of course our special guest Tim James are going to pick their top 20 CDs of 2013.
That'll be good.
I think so too. I have not listened to the show, but I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Lot of different bands. You know, it's weird because the thing that is always interesting to me is if we have a wide variety of bands that are featured. And I think the number was like 45 or 50.
Wow.
Is the actual number. So there's that much variety, you know, where, you know, there's 80 total songs.
Sure.
And we have very few bands. I mean, there's some that I think there's only like one or two that all four of us had. of the whole year, and there's maybe 2 or 3 that 3 people had,
Okay.
and a lot of 2s and a lot of 1s. It's kind of, it's like, I know my particular list, I think I had 8 that I was the only one that picked. And I think on your list, you had 5 that you were the only one. And Tim James, Jesus Christ, he had like 15 that he was the only one. And I think that dude just, I think they must give different music to Australians.
Sure.
Because his list was so far away from all of our lists, it ain't even funny.
Well, hey, that just adds to the,
No, I'm for it. I have no problem at all with that.
Sure.
That's cool, because if nothing else, people that didn't, listen to a lot of music, and let's face it, we don't play a lot of music. If you didn't listen to a lot of music all year and you listen to the one show, you can really catch up.
Sure.
You can catch a lot of bands that you didn't hear and get a good sampling of a lot of them, and maybe go buy it or check it out on Spotify or whatever.
Right.
So, all good.
Good. All right. Well, we got about 50 minutes. I'm going to play one song. We're going to come back. We're going to do Anime Girl, and we're going to, round out the the CMS for 2013.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Well, I'm going to play something from the new Benedictum, which is just a killer release.
Yeah, it's fair.
Okay. It's just fair.
It's fair.
All right, if you say so. But the new CD is just called Obey, and I'm going to play the title track because it's just wicked.
All right, well, let's do that.
All right, well, here's brand new Benedictum from the Obey release. Here's the title track exclusively here
on your classic metal show.